Okay, we are good now.
Okay. All right. So looks like I will not be able to share my screen today. Unfortunately, equipment is not working very good today. And all right, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the session on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure presented by Go to Fastlane team over here, part of our weekly sessions on cloud and data analytics. All right, as part of the series, we'll first go over a quick introduction about myself and what Go to Fastlane is all about, followed by OCI basics. Okay, so right, a quick introduction about myself. A lot of you over here on the call have been on our previous meetings, so thank you for that. My name is Rama Goyal. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Go to Fastlane. We are an IT organization registered in Canada, and we operate mainly in regions of Canada, US, and Africa. We definitely have a workforce operating from India. Bit about myself, my background, BITS Pilani alumni, working in the IT industry for quite some years now, and a professional speaker at the technical and leadership conferences. Been working in the industry to train students for a few years now and building competencies in cloud, data analytics, deep learning, neural networks to focus on at this point of time for this year. Okay, I'm also happy to be joined by Abhishek Sena. Abhishek has been a mentor of Go to Fastlane ever since we were founded. He's a YCC Nagpur alumni working in Oracle and Oracle Technologies and Oracle Corporation itself for more than 15 years with profound experience and expertise in cloud modules, not only Oracle, but also Amazon, Azure, and Google Cloud. He is a certified cloud professional, a certification which is very rare to find in this world right now. A technical speaker, a very techie by mind. Thank you, Abhishek, for being our mentor through this journey. All right, let's get to the basics of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So as we did our last session on the basics of cloud, right, and we talked about IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS services, today we'll drill down into one of the clouds and we'll start with Oracle Cloud, and we'll then move on to Amazon Cloud. So in Oracle Cloud, we'll cover the series as first infrastructure, then PaaS, and then SaaS, okay? So today is a session on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is also briefly called as OCI. Okay, and Abhishek, I would request you to give us a quick introduction before we go into the deep of the slides.
So basically, Oracle has started, Oracle is a late entrant into the Oracle Cloud business. And they have started the first in 2017, they came up with the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure known as a classic. And suddenly means like they launched that one and suddenly they realized like, it is not fulfilling the requirement because Oracle is known for the footprints for enterprise. Oracle is basically used for wherever the load is more. So they redesigned everything and they launched Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Gen 2. So here, our strategy, basically Oracle's strategy is to give customer the best cloud application and platform with the open source ecosystem and run this technology on the best infrastructure in the cloud or even in the on-premises. And that's what you can see, like, Oracle Cloud applications, now ERP, all the HCM, supply chain, data, analytics, and customer CX, all these things are available on Oracle Cloud. Yeah, Rama.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Abhishek. So as continuing to where Abhishek left, so as I said, we'll talk about different clouds, starting with Oracle, right? And Oracle is infrastructure. Infrastructure is the backbone of any IT system, right? It's very important to have a database sized, a data center sized and optimized for the future needs, not only for the current IT organization needs, but for the future needs. And that's how the need for a classification of the data center started when on-premise data centers were a concept, right? So in on-premise data centers, what a typical data center or system administrator does is understands how many users, what kind of applications, what are the frameworks of the applications, and accordingly chooses a data center, a server, a storage, a compute, a network, a data pipe size, and internet service provider. right? So the same thing over here in cloud is done not by your system administrator, but by cloud provider's system administrator, which in this case is Oracle. Okay. So what Oracle did is Oracle ensured that its infrastructure layer is so strong and profound that scalability is never a problem. So if you look over here, what Oracle has tried to do is it has tried to put its Oracle Cloud infrastructure layer at the bottom layer as its most important layer, and that's what we are going to study today, of its cloud framework. Okay. So in any infrastructure layer, what are the key components? Typically network, compute, and storage, right? So all these components are bundled together to provide a highly available and scalable framework called OCI, which is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Built on the foundation of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure are other platforms that can develop or that can be developed on it either by the cloud service provider, that is Oracle, or by its clients. So remember our analysis of IaaS, with this layer is the IaaS layer, right? But it is very easy for a customer to just buy IaaS or buy PaaS or SaaS, right? So Oracle's IaaS layer is founded, built, structured on OCI. Then you have a platform as a service. If you as a customer want to buy that, you can also buy this service, which is Oracle's cloud platform, which provides you tools and technologies to build and extend your applications, right? It could be your mobile applications, data analytics, we talked about BI last time, integration services, security services, collaboration tools. They're all part of cloud applications, your PaaS layer, right? And then is your SaaS layer, which is built on top of that, which takes care of your enterprise applications, right? Like your financial management applications, human resources management applications, supply chain functions, and CX functions. Okay. And then the whole OCI can also sustain the workload of what is very popularly called broad open ecosystem, right? Which is third-party tools that are used as add-ons, right? And several organizations have been using multiple applications throughout several years, right? Which is not very easy for them to decommission. Those applications could be open source or proprietary to a customer, right? So OCI will also be host those kind of workloads and perform a transition for a customer from on-premise to cloud, okay? So lastly over here, what you see is the hybrid cloud model, which is where you have cloud at the customer side, very similar to a traditional on-premise application, but on the cloud and managed by Oracle. So in this case, just understand that your data center is sitting behind your firewall, right? So in clouded customer, okay? So this is the overall OCI strategy, and very important for you to understand that OCI is the foundation layer for Oracle Cloud, right? Which includes network, compute, and storage, right? This provides the bricks for setting up a data center, okay? Okay, going into details of what does OCI contain. And then towards the end of the session, we'll explain you why are you learning all this in this way, right? So briefly touched upon regions, availability, domains in the IaaS video. I hope you all have seen the YouTube video on IaaS. If not, a quick recap over here for you. Okay. So regions, availability, domains, and networks. So region is any geographical area, right? It can be, as you see over here, it's Frankfurt, Ashburn, all these are places, are geographical regions, right? So region is just a metropolitan or a geographical area, okay? So just think of it as Toronto or Nagpur, right, where you are, right? So next concept that's important for us to understand is availability domain, okay? So availability domain, as you see over here, are specific components, right, which is essentially a data center within a given region. So what you see over here is that Phoenix, Ashburn, and Frankfurt are three regions which have multiple availability domains in it, okay? So what is an availability domain? Just understand availability domain as a data center. Each region typically has 3 availability domains, okay, which are 3 distinct and separate data centers connected, right? Connected to each other via a secured network, okay? A secured and high performing network which has low latency, okay? Now, within each of these data centers, right, are your servers, is your network, compute, and storage, the components of OCI, components of an infrastructure, okay? Each availability domain is connected to the other availability domain through very high performing network cables, right, which offer an opportunity to the customers to have very high performing systems hosted in these availability domains. It also makes it possible to replicate the data across availability domains in the same region. And when we will see the demos, you will see that how easy it is for you as a customer to select a particular region and then an availability domain within that region to configure your cloud. Okay. So connecting these 3 regions, what you see is you also see that these 3 regions are connected by these dotted lines, right? So this is for replication of data. Okay. What is important for you to know over here is that there are regions and there are multiple regions across the world. Please do not go by this picture that there are 3 regions only. Okay. So multiple regions across the globe. I know there are 25 plus, I don't know the exact number right now, but multiple regions, 3 availability domains in each region, okay? Each availability domain connected to each other by a high performing data fiber network, okay? And replication of data possible within this. Now, how does a customer connect to this network, right? So there are ports exposed, right, which is also called the points of presence, to which a customer will be able to, via which a customer will be able to connect into the network, into one of the availability domains on which their network will be hosted or connected, their servers will be hosted. Okay, a very important concept for OCI, right, to understand regions, availability domains, and the backbone network. Okay, this peer-to-peer network connectivity, right, it helps to promote speed. Okay, all right. Now let's look at each of the units here, right? So regions. As we said, region is a geographical area which has availability domains, which are your data centers, right? Okay, few sentences over here which is very important to read in the slide are predictable low latency and high speed, right? So what is very important in cloud is the ability to predict, right? One predictability that we talked in the last session was the cost predictability, being able to predict what are the costs of subscribing to a particular service, right? But at the same time, you should also be able to predict what is the speed, what is going to be my performance, how much time it's going to take for a particular page to load, etc. Right? So as you see over here, latency, one-way latency is less than 500 ms. Wow, that's really very low latency, right? So you cannot even see that there's a delay in data transfers or byte transfers. Okay. Few concepts that are written over here and not to be discussed today are zero data loss architecture, like what is called MAA.
Maximum availability architecture.
Availability, yeah, I was getting lost. Yeah, maximum availability architecture and highly available scale out architectures like Cassandra. Okay. All right, next is what happens inside an availability domain, and watch the picture at the bottom, right, which keeps growing. So you had region at the bottom, which is availability domains. Now we are trying to dissect what happens within an availability domain, right? So, and Abhishek, if you have any points to add, feel free to add over here. But few points which I would like to cover on this slide are, this is the heart, right? So this is the heart of Oracle Cloud, right? Because this is where entire network stays, right? So over here, a few words very important for you to understand first, and I'm not sure if you have studied in a course, are oversubscribed network, So it is written that Oracle Cloud is a non-oversubscribed network, hence flat, fast, and predictable. We talked about predictability, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk about yes, please, Abhishek.
Yeah, basically Oracle, when they realized that OCI Classic is not working because it was oversubscribed. So they came up with this idea, like, especially with the OCI Gen 2, we are not going to oversubscribe. We are not going to give the data center to more than 40,000 customers. So every customer, whomsoever log in into the Oracle data center, they should get all these kind of latency. Rama shown you, like, 500 microsecond, because Oracle is the first company who is providing 3 SLAs, service level agreement, and those service level agreements are 99.9. So performance, manageability, availability. So to maintain that part, Oracle said, like, we are not going to oversubscribe our network the way other vendors are doing. So that's the basic difference between Oracle is an enterprise cloud and the others are generally oversubscribing, and that's why the performance issues are there. Please, Rama.
Sure, thank you. So just latching on to the same point, right? For those who do not understand what is oversubscription is just think about multiple subscribers logging into Netflix at the same time for a newly released movie, and you will see that there'll be buffering in the movie when you try to play it, right? Same thing. So in case of network environments, right? In case there are multiple devices that are trying to connect to a same switch port, right? To optimize the performance, but sometimes it can also lead to degradation of the performance. So that's called oversubscription. Okay. So in Oracle, as Abhishek said, it's a non-oversubscribed network. So everybody has an assured level of performance. Okay. Next point is important to understand is scalability. We talked about scalability and elasticity in the last session. So very high scalability, 1 million network ports in each availability domain, right? So which obviously leads to a predictable level of latency that a customer is going to experience. Okay. Okay. Next, very important slide again, right? So if physical network is your heart, virtual network is the brain behind Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, right? So few concepts over here. First to clarify, right? First to understand. And if all of you have studied, feel free to zoom out. But off-box virtualization, things that you don't hear with some of the other cloud vendors, and you will hear with Oracle. So I will request Abhishek to take this slide first, and I'll give my
Yeah.
tidbits later.
Okay. That okay. So the thing is, like, you are seeing the bottom layer, that is region. Inside the region, there are 3 data centers. Inside inside the region, there are 3 data centers. On the top of that, we have created physical network. Means these are actual servers. We call them as a bare metal server. When nothing is installed on the server, they are bare metal server. And on the top of bare metal server, there is a software called hypervisor. We installed hypervisor to create multiple VM. So hypervisor is a software basically that virtualize the underlying hardware, and you can create multiple software. Now the Oracle realized that thing first, that as soon as we will create multiple virtual machine, and if one machine get corrupted, it will going to clog the complete the complete network. So they came up with this idea of box network virtualization. Basically what they have done, they took the virtualization from into the network and IO virtualization out of the software stack, and they put it into the network. So if any VM get corrupted, only that particular VM will get disrupted. Otherwise, rest of the other thing will not be disturbed. So in full software defined layer 3 network, generally we say, like, off-box virtualization is like they have removed from the software stack and put it on the network stack. So that's the fundamental of off-box virtualization. It's tough, but definitely you will learn after some of the sessions.
Okay, right. So let's revise, right, what Abhishek just said. So what is a hypervisor? Hypervisor is essentially a software, right, that will help you create and run virtual machines. Okay, so it will allow, like, you will have one host and multiple VMs, right, which will share the resources like memory, for example, right?
Mhm.
And what is off-box virtualization? Off-box virtualization is taking virtualization out of this hypervisor layer, right? And taking it outside of this physical network so that you can sustain multiple VMs, right? Without affecting the performance of your neighboring VM, right? So anytime a particular VM is not working, your other virtual machines are not affected. You're not only in terms of data corruption or anything else, but also for security, but also in terms of latency and performance. So this particular off-box virtualization feature, right, taking your network outside this physical layer, right, this is what helped Oracle engineer solutions which are more scalable, right? For example, one thing that comes to my mind is the very fact that they could come up with Exadata or a bare metal solution, and or a bare metal solution was because of this off-box virtualization technique.
Yeah.
Okay. I know, as Abhishek said, it's slightly difficult, but it's extremely important to know between physical
Mhm.
network, virtual network, right? So next slide is essentially tells you what is the how the whole OCI stack looks like, right? So go ahead, Abhishek.
Yep, that's right. I think right now you should remember off-box virtualization happens at the network stack, not in the software stack. That's the big differentiator for Oracle and for their commitment to customer, where they can provide 99.99% of availability. That's right now, that is more than enough.
Right. So this slide essentially shows the entire picture of how the OCI looks like, right? And the connections are in terms of storage, server, virtual machines, Exadata servers, load balancers. Um, yeah.
Right, right. See, in this particular slide, we started with the bottom layer, region, availability domain. Within the availability domain, you will have fault domains, then physical network. We created the physical network. On the top of that physical network, we created the hypervisor, virtual network. On top of virtual network, these are computer storage, bare metal. Oracle has provide two kind of servers to every customer. First one is bare metal server. Bare metal server is for those customer who doesn't want any kind of neighbor noise, or they don't want to share their data with anybody else. So for those kind of customer, we recommend bare metal server. Bare metal server comes with a huge capacity of 52 CPU, generally called as Oracle CPU, OCPU. Those are for big customer, but there will be no hypervisor. So it's a pure bare metal hardware. You can directly install the software or your application on the top of that, and because there is no hypervisor, you will get a very good performance. So there is no comparison between the server which are having hypervisor and multiple VM in reflect to bare metal, where you are directly installing software. So there is a you will get a better performance. Second thing is NVMe storage. When we call about the NVMe storage, those are the storage disks which are NVMe. By the way, it's like one of those disks available in the market, high speed, and it's to the better throughput IOs, and then VM and Exadata. Okay, over to you, Rama.
Yeah, no, good. I know these are all difficult concepts for students to get in one day, but it's very important for you to know. And this is the entire picture of how the OCI is built out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Last, towards the end of the slides, in terms of services, right, in OCI, very important for you to understand that OCI comprises of all of the services, which includes identity management services, identity and access management, which is IAM, right? Audit services, networking components, compute components, block storage, object storage, load balancing, and database services. Okay. I'm going to ask a question over here. All of you are computer science graduates. One basic concept. What is the difference between block storage and object storage? I love to ask this question because I always get wrong answers. Anybody? No? Abhishek, you are the guru at this concept. I'm going to request you to explain it.
So block storage, as already I have explained you, block storage, we generally call it as a block volume. You go to like, any shops where you say like, I want a laptop with a 250 gig megabyte or 250 gig space and storage space and 120 gigabyte of memory. Block volume or block storage is the same thing, which is SAN storage attached to your, physically attached to your server. That is a block volume. That is for the faster access. If you have unstructured data backup, you want to download certain security patches. For that, you need object storage. Object storage. It is like additional USB in layman terms, not in that term. So object storage service help you to manage data as object as they are accessed over the internet. But block storage service help you to dynamically provision and manage block storage volume. It will be too much for you guys, but you need to go through this. Block volume is a SAN storage connected to your hardware directly. Object storage is for unstructured data and for backups and for like storing patches and other stuff. Rama?
Yeah. And guys, these concepts are universal concepts. What we are teaching you today are concepts in all the clouds, right? We might
Absolutely.
be using the name of Oracle for certain specifics, but these concepts are universal across all the clouds.
We call it as like, Oracle call it as a block volume or object storage. Amazon call it as a S3.
Correct. Okay, so it's very important you understand the concepts.
There is something I want to add.
Okay.
The way I got to understand about block storage and object storage was the main difference that in case of block storage, you can store files, fetch them across different regions and across different data centers. But in case of block storage, you can actually install operating systems and programs onto it and run it over them. But you cannot do the same on a block storage. Block storage is only for file access and file storage, not file and program executions. If you want to run in direct contact with the hardware, you need block storage. You need what was the other one?
Block volume.
Yes, block volume. Yeah, that's it.
So basically, object storage is more like copying, and that's why when you do the lift and shift concept from on premises, you generally copy those image into the object storage, and that's why I said like object storage is for unstructured data, any kind of unstructured data, and that's the difference between unstructured data or like block object storage versus block volume. Yeah, Rama.
Sure, thank you. Any other questions or inputs from any of the students? All right. Okay. All right. Next, this slide is what all of you should have been waiting for since the beginning of the session. So these are the core themes and around which we are going to structure the groups of students to work and create proof of concepts. So core themes around Oracle Cloud Infrastructure are lift and shift, also called move and improve, infrastructure heavy workloads, and cloud native workloads. Okay. So first one is lift and shift. And as you have seen in one of the projects that we discussed for YCC team was lift and shift. So Abhishek, do you want to take all these models?
Yeah, basically lift and shift there are most of the customers are still on, running on premises environment. And suppose like, you created one form, one means like, 20, 30 forms, 20, 30 reports is still on 12c, and you want to take it to cloud. So how you can take it to cloud? What you need to do? So that's the process. When you are copying your on-premises environment to cloud environment, means like means lift and shift means you don't need to change anything. You don't need to change any kind of IP. You don't need to change any DNS or domain name. Just lift, complete, make the image of that particular software, store into the object storage, and from object storage you can provision your instance on cloud. So that's what is lift and shift is all about. Throughout most of the means like especially in India region and the North America region, there are more than 4,500 customers who are running Oracle ERPs, SAPs, or all the enterprise resource planning software. They want to go to cloud. So that's where lift and shift is the most important concept. And it's like, everybody wants to go to the cloud. So you are going to use lift and shift technique to take them, and that will decide the roadmap to cloud. Lift and shift. And you don't need to re-architecture anything, as I already explained. This is the difference. This is the difference between IaaS and the PaaS and the SaaS. Whatever you are running on premises environment, what kind of IP you are running, same thing you can directly lift from your on premises environment and post it on the cloud environment. That's a lift and shift. Over to you, Rama.
Yes, please students, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions here?
Second is infrastructure heavy workload. Suppose you guys, heavy workload, generally we say like, some of the big companies like Mercedes, BMWs, they want to do the crash testing. And they don't want to utilize, physically somebody do the crash testing for them. No, that is not going to happen. So they are virtualizing their environment. They are setting up their environment with 300 CPUs, and they are following that. So those are the things, heavy workload with the demand, high scale, high performance. For that you use HPC. And big data is also part of that, because data is growing like anything. You need machine learning along with that. So second part is infrastructure heavy workload. Third is cloud native workload. Programmable infrastructure for cloud first development, self-service, cost, flexibility, agility. You can develop any kind of application based on your DevOps experience. Anything if you want to ask more in this. SAP HANA is totally a different thing. SAP HANA is SAP is ERP kind of thing, but HANA is their database. Most of the time, SAP is running with the SAP on the front end side, Oracle database on the behind, in the back end. But now from 2023, they have decided they are going to go with their own database. They are not going to support Oracle. So front end will be SAP, back end will be HANA. Thank you.
Right, thanks Abhishek. And students, before you ask these questions, do you Google yourself to find out? I very clearly have told you, we have told you multiple times that we are not your tutors, right? We are enabling you to think. So Vedanti, right? Focus on what is being taught right now. You're going into concepts which are totally not relevant, okay? So please focus on the infrastructure piece. When we come to SaaS applications, that is when we talk about ERPs, and one of the ERPs is SAP.
Absolutely.
Okay, so please focus on what is being taught right now. So create differentiators. This is a slide for you to understand that Oracle's differentiators with respect to other vendors. And when we talk about Amazon, we talk about Amazon's differentiators. But one of the key differentiators, as we told you in the architecture slides, is the heart and the brain of Oracle, right? The way it has been architected, right? It is industry's first bare metal cloud services, which provides extreme amount of flexibility, elasticity, and scalability, right? Another key feature of Oracle Cloud is the lift and shift, right? Where your entire workloads from on-premises can be directly hosted on the cloud without doing any kind of re-engineering on your on-premise workloads. Off-box network virtualization, which lets you create highly scalable applications, is another key differentiator, as we talked about earlier, right? Non-oversubscribed network and few other performance features are, again, key differentiators for Oracle in the cloud space. Okay. At this point, we can take a pause and take any questions.
I think, let me see. Till now, no questions are there.
Yeah, so summarizing, right? So to summarize, what we looked at is what is OCI comprised of, right? Any infrastructure component has to have network, compute, and storage, right? So in OCI, what you have a region, you have availability domains, you have a backbone network, right? Which enables peer-to-peer sharing, peer-to-peer point of presence connectivity, right? Followed by that, you have a virtual physical network, and then virtual networking layer, which is also called off-box virtualization feature of Oracle. On top of it, you have other services which are an output of OCI and enables OCI to function, right? It could be your storage components, compute components, or networking components, right? Like bare metal cloud servers or network components like load balancers. Okay. So that was your OCI. I know it's a very technical topic, but what we are going to do is we're going to ask you to study this again and again, right? Just memorize what was taught today, right? See the video again and again on YouTube. And following that, ask us questions, and then we will, in our weekly sessions, right, we'll regroup to form a group wherein we will see who can start working on the proof of concepts for cloud. Okay. And as always, if you want to know more about us, subscribe on YouTube channel, follow us on LinkedIn. If the students of the session want to use the title of Associate Technical Ambassador on LinkedIn to get more networks, expansion and contacts, feel free to do that, but only in a freelance or an internship capacity. Please do not use full time. Okay. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a WhatsApp group if you want to subscribe to that and get some latest updates. Please do that as well. So,
Rama, before we do that, can you introduce Atleesh?
Absolutely. We're very fortunate to be joined by Mr. Atleesh today. He's joining from South Africa.
Nairobi.
And welcome to the session, Atleesh, and thanks for hanging along with us. He is a project manager in the cloud space and ERP space, working with several clients in Nairobi region. And Atleesh, may I request you to introduce yourself to our students?
Let's find myself, Atleesh. Yes, I had worked with the Oracles as a developer for let's say kind of 7 to 8 years experience, and then after we moved to another domain, SAP domain. But certainly yes, I have a technical background of Oracle's developing ERP and all, so I just carry over now till now. And at this moment, I'm just looking kind of project management in IT software, Oracle software, it is SAP software. Both I take care of. So these are my background, and that which I can say. Hello.
Thank you, Atleesh.
Thank you, Atleesh. Yeah. Always welcome to the session. Thanks for joining us. And
thanks. It was nice. Definitely, yes. I will be going back through all these YouTube and other channels that you have shared with us, and then maybe next time I can give more input and all. Yeah. Thanks.
Sure. Absolutely. And maybe we'll redirect some of our students of SAP questions over to you that now that you're working on it. So it'll be a great
Yeah,
learning
good,
for them.
good.
Sure. Thank you. Are there any questions from the students since we have a follow-on session with a core group on the web development?
I think not till now. So I think
Okay.
we are good.